Okay, so this is a little video lesson on what we would call sales planning. This would be much easier to do if I was there with you, but we'll get it done this way. So let's start with talking about the difference between what we've already seen, which is marketing and advertising, versus what we will call sales. Okay, so as you can see here, marketing and advertising, that's what's designed to reach what we would call a broad audience, or you're trying to reach as many people as possible. All right, we have talked about focusing on a specific target market, but you're trying to reach that entire target market. You're not trying to reach one specific person within that target market. So it's not very personal. It's again designed to reach a broad audience, to reach as many people within that market as possible. Okay, so it's not very focused on a single person. With sales, we're talking about a much different approach. Okay, typically when we talk about sales, this is more like business to business transactions, but not always. Okay, so if you think of Pepsi, okay, business to consumer versus, I don't know, IBM selling copy machines to a business or to an office, that's much different. That would be business to business. So in a business to business or transaction or in sales, it becomes very personal. And what I mean by hands-on is you're there in person selling something, talking, communicating, and building or developing a relationship with the key person who's going to make that purchase decision. Okay, so it's again there might be phone calls involved and in-person sales visits, we call them sales calls. That ongoing support and communication. So it's much different than your traditional marketing and advertising. Okay, so I just want to make sure we're clear between the difference of the two. Okay, so for a startup, if your product or service is going to require some what we would call sales, right now you don't have the money to hire a sales force, to hire experienced salespeople. So you are the salespeople. All right, so some people aren't very comfortable being in a sales role, but with a startup, you got to get over that. So everybody is the sales staff. So you may have some people that are naturally better at it or more comfortable with it, but everybody is going to have to be able to be comfortable in a sales role. Okay, and some people, like it says, don't like sales because they have a fear of rejection. Okay, that somebody's going to say no. But if you think about it, what's the worst thing that's going to happen is somebody says no. So, okay, so you learn from it. Why did they say no? Was it too expensive? Did they not really need the product or service? Were they just really happy with their competitor, with your competitors, or what they're doing now? So they like the product, they like the price, but there really just wasn't an overall need to change or to implement what you're selling. And you can learn from those things. What changes do you have to make? Maybe you just didn't make a good sales pitch. So maybe you didn't get the point across. So again, if you're truly passionate about what you're selling and you truly believe in it, then the rejections don't tend to hurt as much. Okay? If you're in there selling a set of steak knives, okay, that you could care less about, you're just trying to make some money, then yeah, you're going to get pissed off every time someone tells you no or doesn't make a purchase. But if you truly believe in what you're selling and what you're offering, then you almost view it as, okay, well, you miss out then, because what we have to offer is really good and could really bring value to you. So we'll try again in the future, okay, because we think you'll change your mind. Okay, moving on here. So to be successful, you see the picture there. If I was in class, that is a link to a video. And this PowerPoint is in Schoology, so if you want to see what video that links to, please feel free. But some of this should be just common sense, okay? You have to have a positive attitude, okay? You don't have to be in there doing cartwheels, but you need to be upbeat and smiling and positive, okay? You need to create the atmosphere, the environment in the room, if you will. Being prepared is paramount. If you are unprepared, you don't know what you're talking about, you fumble around with questions, well, then you're doomed, okay? And this is a key point here. Anticipate and overcome no. Unless you're offering something that is just out of this world crazy good, people are going to have objections. Their initial response a lot of times is no, and it doesn't matter what you're selling. It's just human nature. Okay, so be able to anticipate where those no's or when those no's are going to come, and then how do you overcome them? How do you get past that and ease those fears, or get over those objections? And then you enter every situation expecting to win or to close a deal, if you will, or to close a sale. And that's the attitude you have. Okay, so these are very key common characteristics of anybody in any industry that's successful in any form of selling. All right, so here we're going to talk about the specifics of a successful sales call. All right, so we are going to assume that you're having a face-to-face meeting for this, that this is not happening over the phone. That's a whole nother lesson about how do you actually get the meeting. All right, whether it's phone calls, emails, okay, we'll talk about that at another time. But this is assuming that you've taken those steps and somebody has okayed for you to come in and meet with them in person. So you might be going into someone's office, into someone's place of work to make this sales call. All right, so first off, you got to make sure you're meeting with the proper person. All right, the person you're meeting with doesn't have the authority to make a purchase. Are they worth your time? Okay, or is that the process you have to go through? You have to sell this person and then he refers you to another person. There could be a process involved, but you just got to really make sure that whenever possible that you're dealing with what we would call the buyer or the decision maker. All right, then you got to make sure you do your background work. Okay, what can you find out about that prospective customer or the prospect ahead of time? Do the background work about the company, about the business, about the industry as much as you can before you get there. Okay, if for nothing else, it just makes for good dialogue, good discussion. Okay, if you know some things that are going on with the company or the business or maybe the industry they're in, or you can just bring up some current topics, just kind of, again, you're building a relationship. Okay, so the more you can find out ahead of time, the better. And maybe you find out a specific problem that they're having, or you can really focus your product or services UVP or unique value to that specific prospect. Okay, but if you just go in blind, not knowing anything about that person other than they may sometimes purchase what you're offering, that's going to make for a difficult sales call. So we want to make sure we do our homework. And then being prepared, again, planning for the meeting. And it helps to have a script. Okay, now you're not going to have a piece of paper out next to you going through the script, but you kind of have an outline for what you want to take place, right? Things like qualifying questions. So what questions would you want to ask to make sure the person that you're talking to needs your product or service? Okay, things like what are you using now to solve this problem? Okay, how much are you spending on XYZ? Okay, what do you like about what you're doing now? What would you change about what you're doing now? Okay, again, these are qualifying questions to get that person talking so that you can show how your product or service is better. Okay, so having those questions prepared. You don't want to have to think of them on the spot. You have them prepared ahead of time. And then they just kind of naturally come up in conversation. All right, and then you want to close or make sure we have the next step. Do we need another face-to-face meeting? Do we need another product demonstration? Are there other people that, excuse me, we need to talk to? Or can we sign a deal right now? Can we shake hands, sign papers? What do we need to do? Okay, so we close. All right, you don't want to just walk out not knowing what the person thinks, not knowing what's going to happen next. All right, you want to make sure you close that meeting the way you want it closed. You may not always get the answer you want, but at least the meeting's closed the right way. And then follow up if necessary. Okay, did you promise to send a card, a brochure? Or maybe it's just a follow-up email saying thanks for your time. Can't wait to do business with you. You know, we were really excited to work with you guys. Whatever that is, that you're following up with them to again to build that relationship. Okay, here's another video link. We watched this once in class already, but if you want to watch it again, it's there. All right, so you guys are going to be creating a template, and I'll explain what this template is going to be for, but this is kind of universal to whatever it is you're selling. Is again, how are you going to open the sales call? Okay, introducing yourself, making that little small talk, how's the weather? How's your weekend? Love the office, whatever it is. Okay, traffic was crazy coming in here. Whatever it is, how are you going to open the meeting? And then a little 1 to 2 sentence of, wow, we're so excited to show you what we have to offer. We really think we're going to be able to bring some value to your business here. That kind of thing. Again, thanks for your time. We're going to, you're going to be really happy with what we have to show you. We can't wait to get started. Okay, a little 1 to 2 sentences. And then again, we already talked about the discovery questions. What questions are you going to ask to learn as much as you can? Again, how are they solving the problem now? What are they spending? What do they like? What do they dislike? What are they looking for? Right, having those questions prepared. And then ultimately at some point you're going to have to describe what it is that you're offering. Okay, the product, the service. So it is your business, should know it inside out and backwards. Okay, but that doesn't mean the person that you're talking to knows it inside out and backwards. So what do you need to show them? What do they need to hear? Okay, do you need visual aids? Do you need, some sort of presentation? What is it that you need to show them? Okay, and then making sure that you're tying that into the value you're bringing or offering. Okay, that all the bells and whistles of your product or service and how it fits to them, it's going to make their life easier, it's going to make their business better, it's going to reduce costs, it's going to increase revenues, whatever the case is, make their employees happier. Okay, all of those things tied together. And then overcoming objections. So you should know what objections are people likely to have. Okay, what are the main reasons you think somebody would not want to buy what it is you're selling? And then how are you going to respond to those? You need to have those prepared. Okay, so what are those objections? And how can you spin those to a positive? Okay, and again, that takes some thought, it takes some planning. All right, we already talked about the closing. How are you going to end the meeting? What actions are next? Can we close a deal right now? If not, what do we need to do to be able to close the deal? Again, we don't want to just leave it up in the air. Okay, so this is a template, 5-step template. And you guys are going to be preparing one of these for something that I'll explain in just a minute. Okay, so we're going to do a role play on, what's today? You're listening to this. Okay, so our next class, after the one you're in right now, you're going to be playing the role of a Schoology sales team. So your group that you're in, you are salespeople for Schoology. Okay, so you're selling the Schoology system. So let me explain what you're going to do. All right, again, this assignment is in our Schoology folder, so you can read it again, but I'll go through it with you. All right, so as I kind of already said, your group will be playing the part of a sales team from Schoology. So you will be making a sales call to our sales coach, who will be in during our next class. It's Mr. Tim Gerhardt. He's been in a couple times to our class already. I think you'll recognize him. He's going to play the part of a high school district superintendent. Okay, so someone like Dr. Cates. So your goal is to convince the superintendent to implement Schoology into his district. Okay, so Schoology is not free. All right, it's free to you, but the school district pays to be able to use the Schoology system. All right, so obviously this would be a school district that's not currently using Schoology, and your goal is to sell that software system or that Schoology service. Okay, so here's some details. You have a maximum of 15 minutes, so you are going to rotate into the conference room, one group at a time. Your group has a maximum of 15 minutes. You can use any tools you think will be beneficial to you. Okay, you're using the conference room. Here's one piece of background information I'll give you. The rest is going to be up to you to find out. Is that the price for Schoology is $10 per student per year, per school year, with a one-time upfront fee of $1,500 per building. Okay, so like in District 211, that would be $1,500 times 5 to cover setup expenses and training. So $10 per student per year